بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We are looking at the topic of slavery, and today we are going to talk about economic slavery. And inshallah, next week we will see that it's not enough just to say to people No one can buy and sell you if you don't give them their rights. But today we are looking at economic slavery. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu la ta'kulu amwalakum bainakum bil batili illa an takuna tijaratan an taradim minkum ولا تقتلوا أنفسكم إن الله كان بكم رحيما. O you who believe, devour not your property amongst yourselves by illegal methods, except that it be trading by your mutual consent. And kill not your people. Surely Allah is ever merciful. Next is 429. Well, the marker seems to have dropped off. 429. Oh, sorry, I missed out the first verse I was going to recite. 2188, that was 429 that I recited. وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا أَمْوَالُكُمْ بَيْنَكُمْ بِالْبَاطِلِ وَتُدْلُوا بِهَا إِلَى الْحُكَامِ لِتَأْكُلُوا فَرِيقًا مِنْ أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ بِالْإِثْمِ وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. And swallow not up your property amongst yourselves by false means, nor seek to gain access thereby to the judges, so that you may swallow up a part of the property of men wrongfully while you know. 429, I was going to recite at this point, I've already recited. And in fact, I'll recite the English translation of the following verses as well, which is 30 and 31. And whoso does this aggressively and unjustly, we shall soon cast him into fire. And this is ever easy for Allah. And if you shun the great things which you are forbidden, we shall do away with your evil inclinations and cause you to enter an honorable place of entry. That was 431 and 32. And now 1185. And O my people, give full measure and weight justly, and defraud not men of their things, and act not corruptly in the land, making mischief. So these are just Sadaqallahul Aliyyul Azim. These are just 3 of the verses of the Holy Quran that I have recited for you. The Holy Quran, Islam lays down a whole system for regulating things. And one of the things it says is, O my people, give full measure and weight justly, and defraud not men of things, and act not corruptly in the land. You see, the economic system Islam sets up is that it allows human beings freedom of action and trade. Because this is how human intellect develops. that you try out things, you have ideas, you take all the risk and so on. But at the same time, it doesn't allow you to exploit people. There will be people who will be pure, who will be poor. As the Chancellor said, he can't guarantee that no one will lose their job. He can't guarantee that there will be no poverty. But for all of that, having given people the liberty to try their intellect and so on, Islam then institutes zakat and sadaqah. We have recently seen how there has been a postponement on installments for various loans. Islam goes further. Islam says there should be a fund with the government out of zakat that can be used to pay off the loans of poor people. In fact, being in debt is regarded very poorly by Islam. The Holy Prophet Muhammad said, and this is a prayer that Holy Prophet used to say, "O Allah, I seek refuge with you from worry and sorrow and incapacity and laziness and cowardice and avarice and being in debt." And being overcome by other men. So being in debt is not regarded in Islam as a good state to be in. You should try and be free of it if you can. But at the same time, Islam recognizes that people will be in debt. So the Holy Quran says, if there is someone in debt to you and they cannot pay the installment or they can't return the money to you, then give them relief. Give them relief. And there's a hadith of the Holy Prophet which says, a messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, a man would give loans to the people and he would say to his servant, if the debtor is in hardship, you should forgive the debt, that perhaps Allah will relieve us. So when he met Allah, then Allah relieved him. And we've seen, contrast the situation a few years ago when people got into debt for various reasons because of the economic circumstances, and they couldn't pay their mortgage installments. And the banks and the building societies, they simply repossessed their properties and put them on the market, causing the property market to crash, the economy to go into recession, thousands to become unemployed. What have they done now? They followed exactly in the footsteps of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Holy Quran. If a debtor is in difficulty, give him relief. And this is what has been done. So that is one aspect of Islam, etc. But then the verse I want to talk about is really the last one. Give full measure and weigh justly. And that doesn't, well, it does mean that you weigh up things correctly. But it also means that you don't exploit people. It also means you don't exploit people. I was in Suriname and we went to a banana plantation. And there was a lady there, heavily pregnant. She was working as if, well, her life did depend on it. She was soaked in perspiration. Her clothes were sticking to her body. And I asked someone who was with me, she should be at home resting. And he said, if she rests, if she stays at home, then she starves and her family starves. And you know how much she was getting? £1 a week. In her state, she was working like that for £1 a week. Is that giving her just due? Is that giving full measure? Is it a just payment for the effort and labor she was putting into it? This economic slavery is used to control people. If you don't do what I say, I'll chuck you out, and you and your family will starve to death. It's a very powerful and potent weapon with which to get people to do what they want. Whether it is individuals or families or nations, the same thing applies. How can a nation heavily in debt refuse to do the wrong thing to a powerful country who's loaned them the money? How can they? They cannot. So economic independence, standing on your own 2 feet, whether you're an individual or whether you are a nation, is extremely important. And without economic independence, you cannot have political independence. You will always be someone's slave. Did you know that 40 million people are trapped in slavery in the world today? 40 million people. 10,000 of them are in the United Kingdom. Would you believe those statistics? But the law says, the book says, there is no slavery. If you traffic someone into UK, if you take their passport away, if you lock them in a room, if you force them into prostitution, and if you beat them, if when you go to them in the morning or at night, they haven't earned enough, what is that if not slavery? Interesting thing is that out of those 40 million people, 25% are children. 25%, 10 million children in the world. Some of them as young as 5 and 6. They're in slavery. They don't have Nintendos. And they don't have computer games. Every morning they have to get up and go and do some dirty job. 3/4 of these 40 million, that is 30 million, are women and girls, or females. But you see, when we talk about slavery, we have a narrow view. We think, pay 10 quid and buy some that is slavery, that should be abolished. What about all the other types of slavery? I remember many years ago that the British television, they visited a factory in Pakistan, and there were children working there, 13, 14, 15. And the person who was doing this documentary, he asked the owner of the factory, aren't you ashamed that these boys and girls who are 12 and 13 and 14 are working in your factory? Guess what they were making? They were making branded goods, footballs and shoes that you pay £100 or £150 for in the shops in the UK. And they too were getting pennies every week. So this TV guy, He said to the owner of the factory, "Aren't you ashamed of yourself?" To which the owner of the factory responded, "Aren't you ashamed of yourself?" He said, "It's your people, it's your directors who come to us, who screw us down, down and down and down to sign the contract." He said, "All these highly educated MBAs, don't they know that in any country in the world, an adult could not work for those wages? He could not feed himself, let alone his family." He said, "All these marketing experts and all these economics experts, they don't know this? Of course they know this, and they don't care. They want these goods made at the cheapest price possible. And they will go and sell it in their own country at the highest price possible and pocket the profit and distribute it to their investors and shareholders." Is that, as the Holy Quran said, "O my people, give full measure justly and defraud not people of their things"? Are these people not being defrauded of the fruits of their labor? But we always, when we talk about slavery, I've talked about human trafficking and forced labor and so on. There is one thing that I want to add to that, which is not frequently recognized. A forced marriage is a form of slavery. It's no different to selling your daughter or your son. It may not be for money. It may be for money, it may not be for money. Even if it's to increase your status in your caste, you've still sold them. And how many are there who do sell their sons and daughters? "Oh, my brother's child will come into the UK." It is no different. My reputation in my caste, in my family, in my brotherhood will improve. I've got 3 daughters and my brothers have got 3 sons, and I got all of them into the UK. All my brothers think I'm a great man now. So basically what you've done is you've sold your daughters, not for money, but to be eulogized. It's no different. Underage and early marriage is exactly the same. A girl or a boy who are underage cannot give consent in law. I don't care what law it is, Islamic law, British law, American law, an underage girl or a boy cannot consent to marry. That being the case, if you are marrying them off, you're selling them into slavery. How can it be right that in some places, girls as young as 13 are married off to men who are 40 years old or 45 years old, who take them home and then they mistreat them? What happens is nothing short of rape. So you don't just have slavery, you have an additional crime as well. And that needs to be looked at. That needs to be added to the definition of slavery. Forced marriage needs to be added to the definition of economic slavery. A lot of people do it for economic reasons. But I want to go back to a couple of things. We're talking about economic slavery. And people think, oh, Abraham Lincoln, he signed this presidential ordinance saying there'll be no slavery, no one can buy and sell slaves. But did he give those physically owned entities any dignity? There was there still is a place, I guess, it was called Black Wall Street. It's the Greenwood district in Oklahoma, in Tulsa, in Oklahoma. That was inhabited by rich black people. People there, they were all black, but they were well-to-do. And something happened, there was a dispute, and on the 31st of May and 1st of June, 1921, that district was attacked by white people with guns, even with an aeroplane. Shops were burned, houses were burned, people were killed. Why? Because the white people around could not stand to see that those black people were doing well, that they had big houses and all the amenities that were available in 1921. So how did freeing those people further the cause of giving them dignity in society? It didn't. They remained second-class citizens. And as soon as people saw that they were trying to make something of themselves, this has been called the single worst incident of racial violence in American history. And according to my notes here, the attack carried out on the ground and from private aeroplanes. These people were shot at, the black people were shot at from aeroplanes, destroyed, razed to the ground more than 35 square blocks of the district. At the time, this was the wealthiest black community in the United States, known as the Black Wall Street. So you said, oh, you're free. No one can buy and sell you. But we are not going to give you any food. We are not going to give you any education. We are not going to give you any medical treatment. We are not going to give you any respect, as we are seeing today. Confederacy was a rebellion against the Union government. What they did was treason. What they did was treason. And yet, we are told that they were American heroes. How were they heroes when they rose up in rebellion against the legitimate government of the United States? How? Muhammad Ali refused to go to Vietnam. He didn't take up arms against the American government. He simply refused. He said in his words, "They ain't done me no harm. Why do you want me to go and kill them? I'm not going to do it." And interestingly, his defense was that it's against his religion, Islam, to go and kill innocent people. And he's not going to do it. And you stripped him of his honors. You tried him in courts of law. You sentenced him to imprisonment. And yet, you turn around and say, but blacks are free. African Americans are free. Bilalians are free. Let's go next door. Rocky Mountain Railway. If you get on it, if you get a chance, do get on it. Beautiful scenery. It takes about 2 weeks, I think, or 1 week, the whole trip. What was hidden was the fact that 600 Japanese were brought in as bonded labor to build that Rocky Mountain Railway. And they died. And there was no recognition. The locals, the Canadians, they were recognized with plaques and towers and all kinds of things. These people died to build this railway to make Canada great. But no one mentioned the Japanese until a lady, she bought a hut and she noticed something and she did historical research and so on. And she was the first one, about 5 years ago, I think, to set up a monument to the Japanese who gave their lives, 600 of them, to build that railway. Is that giving people their due as the Holy Quran demands? So you say on paper, you are free. That's all that happened. They still not, minorities still don't have many of the rights which the majority communities enjoy. And I'm not just talking about America and England, I'm also talking about those countries where Muslims are in a majority. And there are many of them, not just one, there are many of them in which minorities enjoy no human rights at all. So when we talk about slavery, it's not just about buying and selling of bodies. It's many other things. If you burn down someone's place of worship, that means that you want to treat them as slaves. If you refuse to give someone admission into a college or university, that means you're treating them as slaves. If you refuse to give them jobs, you're doing exactly the same thing. Next Friday, inshallah, we'll conclude this topic by showing how Islam tackled this problem and what it was that Islam thought was important, rather than just signing a piece of paper saying you can't buy and sell people, but leaving them destitute, poor, hungry, without jobs, without education, dying in the gutters. But that is for next week. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quranil Azim wa nafa'ana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim. Innahu ta'ala jawadul kareemun malikun barrun rahim. Alhamdulillah nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم واخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعلنا منهم. عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله والله يعلم ما تصنعون. You won't be able to see me on video, but you can join us for the prayer, which is broadcast over the radio. Well, it will carry on here as well.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya salah, hayya salah. Iqamat salah, iqamat salah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin Ar-Rahmanir Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in Ihdinas siratal mustaqim صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بأصحاب الفيل ألم يجعل كيدهم في تضليل وأرسل عليهم طيرا أبابيل ترميهم بحجارة من سجيل فجعلهم كعصف مأكول. الله أكبر. الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin Ar-Rahmanir Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in Ihdinas siratal mustaqim Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. Allahu Akbar. Ah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Allahumma tabarak rabbana astaghfirullah astaghfirullah. Thank you for joining our Friday service. Our next broadcast will be tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Lessons in Islam, when we'll discuss the concept of sadaqah, which is similar to what we were discussing today. I pray that until we meet again, whoever you are and wherever you are, may Allah keep you safe and sound and free from harm. Assalamu alaikum. Khuda Hafiz. Goodbye.